Hi there.
Right.
I am Lynn Jocelyn, and I have a functional medicine micro practice called Integrated Spectrum of Health. And one of my biggest passions is community, and not just community for my patients, but also community for other practitioners, and really creating collaboration for us to all work together to support humans at different phases of life, be that our patients, our clients, and each other. So I'm super excited to have Marquelle Brown with us today. And Marquelle and I met, I think we'll talk a little bit about this as we go, but we met virtually through a really wonderful program that we're involved in called Food and Spirit, created by Dr. Deanna Minnick. And I just, I want to just put out there that one of the things that's always sparked me about Marquelle in our just really virtual sort of relationship, it
Mhm.
is your curiosity and I'm going to speak to posts because you always seem to really be into, and this is just my experience, um, noting the science, very curious about research and papers that are out there, and also beautifully connected to a really integrated practice. And we got to speak a little bit a week or so ago. So I got a little more taste of what you're doing. But so I'm going to turn it over to you, Marquelle, if you would just share a little bit about um, you, your practice, where you're at, and then we'll move on.
Yes. Well, thank you, Lynn. And it's a pleasure to be here with you. And I am excited that we've met through Food and Spirit and been able to connect. And I am in Collinsville, Oklahoma,
Okay.
and I'm a functional medicine nutritionist. And I also really have been involved in a lot of mindfulness studies, mindset. I've also been doing some mentoring with a therapist with habits and routines and some addiction recovery, self mastery. And so it's really helped to solidify helping people, navigate roadblocks and kind of fill in the gaps where, we keep trying to, follow through with a goal or implement something that we want and then we fall short. So I think that's one thing unique about me is I'm really able to help people with their goals and their vision of where they want to be and where they're going. And also using the Food and Spirit is another key player in that. And I love how we focus on, the full spectrum, and your business is integrated spectrum, and my business is full spectrum holistic health. And so really we're looking at mind, body, spirit, looking at colors, just asking simple questions to get us to think more about our health and what's important to us. And I also love this sense of community. And the virtual world has been very important, as we all know, the past almost 2 years. And it's really nice that we have different platforms where we can learn and grow and integrate and network to help us to be able to feel connected as well as grow and progress with whatever we're focusing on at the time.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And one of the things when you and I connected the other day is
Mhm.
I was really drawn to your practice because it is, there's a lot of depth to it. When I originally reached out, I was
Mhm.
looking to visit with a functional nutritionist as how I can integrate this into my practice. And our conversation, I mean, I think we talked over an hour,
We
and
did.
it was just wonderful. And so, a couple things, I'd love to hear a little bit about just maybe a few nuggets of how you got into this, and
Okay.
then perhaps how you getting into it and then how it's evolved into where you are now and your maybe it's been a full depth of a practice the whole time and that was your vision. But I'd love to just kind of hear that process.
Great. Yeah, well, I have had an interesting journey. I, in high school, was really passionate about health. And I really had this question in my mind, why are we sick? Why are we so sick? My mom was really sick. And then in the wintertime, I would get really sick. And it just never really made sense to me because we were supposedly eating well, you know?
Mm.
And we did actually have a lot of home cooked meals when I grew up, yet we still use a lot of packages with preservatives and canned foods. And, those can add up and they do impact the system. And then also, knowing about blood sugar regulation, proper fats. And I also grew up in the no fat era. And, fats are important for brain health, hormone health, our immune system, our energy. And so with my mom being sick a lot, me being sick in the winter, and then really wondering about this nutrition piece, that really sparked my interest. And I wanted to learn more. I just didn't know how to get on that path at that time. We didn't have the internet, and nutrition was not even on my radar. I didn't even really hear about it. So I actually went on to be a musician. I
Oh,
play the flute.
oh, that's right. We did talk about that. Yeah.
And so music is a very important aspect of my life. And, it's a very powerful tool with our healing and our mental health and our well-being. And then, I went on, got married, started having a family. And again, I'm like, why are we so sick? Why are we so sick?
Yeah.
And I remember taking one of my kids, and they were little, to the doctor. And I thought, if my child is sick and they send me home one more time saying they can't do anything to help me, I'm going to go see this herb lady. And I think that was the name of her store.
Oh, the
And
herb lady.
so, yeah. So that really jump started me back on the path again of looking into nutrition and supporting the system with supplements and things like that. And then one of my daughters, my oldest daughter, did get very sick. We were living in Tennessee and a tornado hit our town. It was very destructive. And the school that she was going to that fall had the whole roof ripped off the school. And so they were repairing it all summer. They delayed school because they weren't quite finished. And then when they started school back up, they were still doing a lot of the repairs, lacquering the gym floor, painting walls, tarring the roof. And her body could not filter off the chemicals quick enough. And she had a total immune system collapse. It was very scary. And her main reaction was anaphylaxis.
Oh my goodness.
And that'll wake you up
Yes,
because
it
that
does.
is a life or death, moment. And it was very scary. She was 6 at the time, and I had a brand new baby. So I think at the time everything came to a head, my baby was almost 6 months, and it was very scary. And so I had met somebody that connected us with a doctor, that got us on, foods and supplements, and he was big into a lot of juicing. And I know there are a lot of different modalities to achieve, healing and recovery. This was the modality he used. And so never having done that, I jumped right in, and we did really use nutrition and supplements. And then a little bit later into our journey, some energy medicine, mindset, things like that to really help her to heal and recover. And it took about 3 years where she wasn't like just reacting to everything. And it was great. And she was doing so well. We moved 3 years. Well, it was about 3.5 years later. The area we moved to, nobody knew she was even sick.
Wow.
So there was really amazing recovery, and that work was, well worth the investment of the time and the energy and all of the stress, because my goal with her was that when she became a teenager, if she ate something that she probably shouldn't, it wouldn't kill her. Because we all know how
Right.
teenagers are. They're going to eat whatever they want, whenever they want.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, she, by that time, was to the point that, it wouldn't make her totally crash. Her system, I think, will always be sensitive, and she's learned to the awareness, and she can eat some things. If she does that too many days in a row, her body will let her know, and she has to recheck herself. So, it's really great though to see, and that, one of the things that is key in that story is, and I want this to go. It's a good thing on my behalf, because this is really what led me to where I'm at with my nutrition and the functional medicine. We do know we need medical attention, and they're there for, specific things, surgeries, traumas, and, when we really need them. For the preventative and healing and repair, especially with this child of mine, there was just this gap, and bless their heart, I met with this doctor. He was wonderful, talked to me for an hour and a half. I asked him every question I could think of, for where I was at that time. And he said, "I'm really sorry, ma'am, there's nothing I can do for your daughter."
Wow.
So of course we had an EpiPen, went out the door, and he said, "You have to be very careful." And that was so hard. And I was like, and she had some pretty intense reactions and things. And I just was like, I cannot live in fear every day of my life that she's going to die, because, we came across something that I wasn't quite sure. It was at that point a latex allergy that was developed from being in with all those latex products in that school. Yet she was reacting to anything else once her body reached that total load. That was what her body would do. Not fun. So that's where I prayed a lot, and I had to trust a lot when I was led to this doctor, to just jump on board, because I really didn't have a choice. I couldn't just kind of, oh, we'll kind of try this. No, I had to full board, do what he said, and it was worth it. So that kind of, one thing with that story, it really helps me to encourage people when they have really difficult health challenges, that keep doing the good things that are helping, and keep asking questions, because it is a process as the body is healing. We want it instant, and that's the world we live in, is instant, and it takes time. And some people will heal really quick, and some it will take longer, depending on what all is involved. And so being patient, and that's one thing that I really can offer people. I wasn't me, yet I was caring for a child that was totally reliant upon me, and I can really give that hope that, okay, it's working, we're seeing progress, and keep going.
Yeah. And I think that lived experience is so important when you're working with people also struggling, because you can bring in that authentic empathy piece, and you get it. And then also the going slow, and that what I heard you say is brilliant. One body may respond in 3 months, one body may respond in 3 years, and it's just continually working together in these ways. Now, I'm curious, I know you have what, 6 kids, or there's a lot
I
of kids?
do.
6?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's
And
so
she
wonderful.
was my oldest.
She
and
was,
I,
okay.
like I said, I had my third baby. So I had 3 little ones. So trying to navigate all that was a lot.
So, Marquelle, that leads me to one of the questions that we, I want to hear from you on. How did you then, and then how do you now fill up your own cup? Because when you're in the healing profession, and then you were caring for your daughter and other kids as you were having them, which is just such a big time anyway. Yes. And then you add a chronic illness and fear with that. And now you're in the healing profession, so you're caring for your kids still in different stages, but also other people really, really struggling. I know you work with some people with some really chronic, debilitating, long illnesses. So how do you take care of you? Like, what are your practices?
That's a great question, and it's so important so we don't get burnout and get run down. At the time, I think my music was a saving grace because I had a small music studio, and then I was also performing in some music groups. And so that gave me something to look forward to. And my mom was a great motivator. She said, you know what, you have to keep doing the things that you love. That's going to help bring you some joy. It's hard, and this is going to help you. And so that was really helpful. I really had to anchor into God. I did a lot of prayer. For me, this is just my practice. I know everybody has their own. Mine was prayer and scriptures, so that I could just find some peace and comfort and have some time to be still. I also like to go outside, and that's really rejuvenating to me, to go out in the sunshine and listen to the birds and go for a walk. And, in some ways that was easy with the little kids because they like to go to the park. So they could go play and then I could be outside. And so I could kind of do two things at once, still helping with them. And and then I've always been passionate since a teenager about nutrition and health and wellness. And so that also gave me, because of that passion, that drive, just learning and growing and trying to, learn more what I needed to do. And then again, now that has carried over. Still, I really like to go outside. We have a few more animals now. So I really like to, interact with our animals. They bring us a lot of joy. They make us laugh. And music is great. And I also really like to have some time where I can just meditate. So I still pray, and I also just think and allow myself to have some downtime where it's just peaceful. And many days I can do that in the morning. And if I can't, then I will do that in the evening. And I find I think it was last year, I had a week that was really busy, and I was like, what is wrong with me? One week I was so stressed out. And I think it was because, I didn't know, because I was really trying to figure out as I was reflecting over the last week. I was like, well, what was different? And I just did not take that time to be still and just reflect and meditate and ponder. So for me, that is a huge key piece. And I do make time for it, because that 1 week I noticed that it made such a huge difference.
And that's so true, right? And what a beautiful point you bring up. Like, you had all these practices all along, and yet we're human, right? You still have a week where you get too busy. So is there something you can share? I mean, for some people, that week turns into months and months and months, and then years, and then chronic illness. Do you have something to pull yourself back, or to remind yourself, or is it just something that you've learned over the years? How do you know to be aware?
I have practiced it.
Yeah.
Awareness, it really is a practice. And noticing, and that's one thing that I do within my practice, is I'm really trying to help people instill an awareness. How am I feeling? How's my body feeling? How am I feeling mentally, emotionally, and being in tune with that. And then we can make course adjustments as we notice them, versus when we have like a whole crisis, like that week I was just frazzled. And so I do have set routines. I have some habits that I like. I make sure every day I say I fight for them, because there's always something that's going to get in the way, right? There's always something else. So I'm like, no, these are top priority. I get these done no matter what. And with the intention of getting them done and looking at my day, okay, where am I going to fit this in today? That is so kind of looking ahead as well is how I instill those into my day. And then in these moments of reflection, and I think I'm just a thinker anyway, but if I feel off, because I've been practicing this, if I feel off, then I can ask myself, okay, so, what was the trigger for that? What led to that? And, what are the thoughts with it? Because we know we've got to transform those negative thoughts to what's true, because those thoughts bog us down and they hold us back. And so I'm constantly feel like I am being aware and reevaluating. And sometimes I can get flooded because I didn't catch it soon enough. Yet, that's life too. So if we are aware and our intention is to keep working on that, it's going to be manageable.
Yeah. And that awareness is so key, right? And then you didn't say this, but I have a sense that perhaps I'm gonna form it in a question, but have you learned through your process and through raising these, 6 beings, your children and your daughter's chronic illness, and then through this you've continued your study, have you learned self-compassion, and is that an important piece for you?
Yes.
Let me regroup that really quick, and then I want to hear your answer. But it takes a driven person to the little bit you've shared with us, your daughter's chronic illness, raising 6 children. I don't know exactly when you went back there for further education, but you did, because you're a functional nutritionist, you're a food and spirit practitioner, and potentially other things. And now you're studying another piece. What I'd love a little nugget on this timeline therapy, which I was really fascinated on. But through that, as such a driven person, also fighting for, I love that piece, fighting for those practices every day. Where does self-compassion come into that?
You know what? I have been working on that as well. And, that drive, for many years, I think I'm in a good spot now. I still have to check myself. You get very self-critical of how you could do something better. And wow, to do this and you didn't, And so I've had to learn self-compassion and that self-care, and to give myself some grace and allow myself to slow down and to just be. I think that's probably where a lot of my self-compassion is. And learning how to notice the lies or limiting beliefs and thoughts that flood my head. Okay, well, what's really true here? And remembering that my intention is always to do good. It's always to be my best self, yet I am human and I do make mistakes, and, we're here to learn and grow. And so allowing myself, to do just that, to learn, what am I learning? Also, it's always good to see, well, wow, look at all the progress I've made. And okay, now I need to focus here, and bringing in that food and spirit, that love, and love is correlated with green. We think Valentine's and it's red. And so green, I've really been embracing the green lately, because it's that nourishing your whole self and learning how to do that. And, food and spirit brings in the color and our sound and our creativity and all of those wonderful, beautiful things that are so great about life that get overlooked in our fast-paced world we live in. And so learning to reconnect to that, looking at the trees, looking up at the sky, all of those things, that self-care, that self-love, and then learning how to love things about yourself as well. And again, for me, that's been a practice, because that came to my awareness. And so that's been something probably few years ago that I was really tapping into and working on. And then I just have to still be aware and maintain that.
It's that, that love space. And would you mind sharing a bit about how you, since we were kind of talking a bit about food and spirit now, my members in my practice know a little bit about food and spirit because I bring it into everything as well. But I'd love to hear from you how you bring it into your work with patients. And you and I know how rich and wonderful. I mean, it's full spectrum. Like it is so full spectrum. I'd love to have you share a bit about food and spirit.
Okay. So what I love most about food and spirit, it's its little thoughts or little questions or a picture that helps you to do a deep dive within of what that means for you. So for one question, so focusing on the root or things that are going to ground us, safety, survival, trust, healthy communities. And I'm going to anchor in with nutrition and food for right now. So asking yourself, why do you want to eat well and nourish your own body? It's a very rooted, question. What is your why behind that? And if we can know why we're doing things, it's going to help us with the how and how to move forward. And with that, we focus on red foods and just bringing our awareness. How can you bring more red foods into your life? So apples, tomatoes, radishes, whatever red food that you would like to implement. Another thing is wearing the color red or noticing the color red. And, what do you notice when you're wearing those colors? I'm wearing purple today. And actually, I love purple. Purple is with insight, and I really gravitate to that. Some people really gravitate to the red and, that rootedness, that anchoredness. And so it's simple things like that. And then also focusing on proteins. And, when we're focusing on just simple little pieces like that, like how could you implement more red foods? How could you implement some more proteins into your meals and snacks? That's bite-sized pieces that we can implement into our lifestyle that aren't overwhelming because they're just little things. So I like to ask questions to help to really allow people to do some deep dives and think about that. And again, this is personalized nutrition, personalized health. And if we can come to those conclusions on our own, it's going to be more impactful and it's going to be more sustaining. And that's what we want. And it's also going to be more satisfying and fulfilling all the way around. We're going to feel good. We're going to feel motivated because we're able to implement these pieces into our own plan.
So true. It's so true. It's the more people can be empowered, I think they heal quicker. And because I know you, I know that you also bring in, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my sense is that you bring in really supporting people to tap into that intuition, that knowing within their body, and perhaps where a sensation or feeling lives in their body, and then how to learn to use that for self-awareness, which is so critical. Do you find in people that you've worked with both the hardcore nutrition stuff, the functional nutrition, adding the food and spirit, and some of these other, I know like the timeline therapy that you're learning, do you find that their imbalances correlate? I mean, and this is a broad question, so you can answer, but correlate with the 7 systems of health, and because I find that fascinating, and I see that.
And I see that as well. And one thing that is really pronounced is people that have sugar cravings and sweet cravings, asking, where do you find sweetness in your life? Besides, I mean, you can bring in food too. I like chocolate and berries, so that would be some of my food sweetness. Where else in your life do you have sweetness in your life? Or if they don't right now, in the past, what brought sweetness to your life? And if we can shift from the foods, because we're really just trying to support those emotions and that void with the sweetness of the food, because we're lacking in that area, and whatever emotion that brings out, that may bring out different emotions for different people. If they're lacking sweetness, some might be stressed, some might be frustrated, some might be depressed, some might be really bored. And so helping them to rediscover places they can find sweetness in their life will help diminish their need for the sweet cravings. And again, it takes awareness, and then when we're shifting away from the sweets into these other areas, that bring us sweetness and actually are really going to be filling that void that we're searching, on how can we fill that. I was going somewhere with that and I lost my train of thought.
Well, it's brilliant.
But, yeah.
Because I think in our crazy diet dogma world, like, do this diet, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. This is such a beautiful way to know, yes, it's about food and it's about everything else. And you can actually use other ways of sweetness in your life that aren't food to help bring down those cravings. I think that is such a beautiful nugget to share with everybody. And thank you for that reminder.
Yeah.
I love my sweets, so that's definitely a big one.
Right.
I would love to have you share what is your unique gift as a healer? And what's your unique gift? What sets you apart?
I really think I'm a great listener, and I can really hold that space for people when they're sharing their story. And I can relate with them. I don't know exactly what they've been through, yet I can relate. And also help hold that space while they gain that confidence and that motivation, to be able to continue forward. So with that gift, as well as holding the space, listening, I also instill hope that they are making progress. When somebody shows up, we know that they're wanting some help, and that's the first step. And I can bring clarity. We take the guesswork out of it. There's so much out there, on the internet, and it gets overwhelming, and people try a lot of things and they just don't know how to put the pieces together to help them to achieve their goals and be successful with the direction they want to move. And so I really think bringing that clarity will provide that hope to help them to move forward as they gain steps and tools to help them to be successful.
And what I love in this conversation and sitting in this space with you is that I really feel that you create the space to empower whoever you're working with to come up with it on their own. You guide them, but it's a really beautiful, gentle guiding that I'm sensing in my second big conversation with you. So thank you for that. So we're going to kind of close up here, and we might have to have another one of these about the timeline therapy, because I'm fascinated about that. But I don't think we have time to give it the, what it needs.
Right.
So I would love to hear, aside from you as a functional nutritionist, you as a mom, you as, all these different hats we wear, what lights you up? What really gets you out of bed to just like seize the day, and what lights you up?
I really, really do love helping people. And
Yeah.
I love seeing people get better.
Yeah.
And that really lights me up to be like, okay, what is, especially if I'm working on a difficult case, I kind of have things in the back of my mind. Okay, we've tried these things. What else could we use? What's that next step? And so that lights me up to just really, help people be able to get to where they're going, and then to see them experience the joy of wellness. I'm all about helping people achieve optimal health and wellness, and then experience the joy of wellness. And I know that they can do that. And it at times can be really hard work. And we all want to give up when it gets hard like that. And knowing that there is hope, there is progress. That is what gets me fired up to be able to help people to achieve that. So
I love that. And I just have to say it again, experience the joy of wellness. It's beautiful.
Thank
So,
you.
how, I'm going to share this with my members and perhaps my community.
Great.
If people want to work with you and experience this joy of wellness, and to be in this sacred space that you create to really empower people to do that hard self-sustaining or hard work to get sustaining healing and joy. How do we find you, or what's and you can give me a link and I'll put it in the
Okay.
with this, but
Yeah.
what share
So,
with us how it works with you.
all right. Sounds great. And thank you again.
Yeah.
So my website is my name, marquellebrown.com. And that is MarquelleBrown.com.
Great.
Or you could reach out via email. And it's again, my name, marquellebrown@yahoo.com.
Excellent.
And I offer a 30-minute complimentary session so that we can see if we're a great fit. And so I would encourage people to reach out and if they're ready to get started. So
That's wonderful. And I just want to highlight a couple things like that you brought up that I think are just such really sweet nuggets. I love fighting for those self-care moments every day, because it is a bit of a fight at times when all the to-dos are coming in. And I love how you reflected on a week of you not feeling so grounded and rushing and being busy, and regrouped and brought yourself back, and how those practices have come so center. And then experience the joy of wellness. I think that is so beautiful. So just for whoever's listening, Marquelle is a functional nutritionist and integrates so many different things. And hopefully we'll have another conversation, because she also does a really cool timeline therapy, which I'd love to share. I would love to collaborate with you with our patients. So I'll be sharing this little interview that we're doing, as well as your website and email, so people can schedule and get to know you. So
great.